Peace, everybody. I'm so excited for this episode of the podcast. I had a really incredible conversation with DāM-FunK. Now, this episode was actually recorded before the fires erupted in Los Angeles. As many of you know, me and my wife actually lost our home and most of our belongings to the Eaton Canyon fire, which really just tore through Altadena, which was a beautiful community that we were super happy to call home. Now, DāM-FunK is actually born and raised in Pasadena, which is just underneath Altadena. It's another area that has been very impacted by the Eaton Canyon fire. And you'll hear in our conversation, references to Eaton Canyon, references to Pasadena, and a lot of the spots that have really been hit hard by this fire. And I think it's a really beautiful conversation. I think it sheds light on how unique, how diverse, how special these places really were, and how special they still are. There are a lot of people who are eager to rebuild in Altadena, but me and my wife are just one of so many families that have been displaced, that have lost their home. Some of these families have been building in Altadena for decades. Their whole history is wrapped up in these homes. So it's really a devastating loss. And, for the most part, a lot of these are everyday middle-class families who are just doing their thing, getting by. And so to be hit by something like this is really unimaginable. So check out the link in the description of this video or wherever you're checking out the podcast. We have a link. I provided some resources for people to donate to the community, to the families that are struggling right now. Make sure you check it out. If you can spare anything, a little bit goes a long way. If you happen to live in Southern California and are able to volunteer, that's amazing. But we just wanted to provide those resources to you guys because so many people are really hurting out here in Los Angeles right now. All right, so it's a beautiful conversation that I got to have with DāM-FunK. I know you guys are really, really going to enjoy it. Thank you so much for being here. Love going out to all the families that are struggling. Love going out to you and everybody that's watching or listening. Without further ado, let's get into it. Thanks, y'all. What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Flow State with yours truly, Harry Mack. Our guest today is none other than the funk legend himself, Mr. DāM-FunK. Let's go. This is for my flow state. Add it, yeah. Y'all know we back at it. Ain't it crazy how the mind works magic? We gon' show you the method behind the madness, 'cause this is for my What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Flow State with yours truly, Harry Mack. My guest today is somebody I'm truly honored to have in the studio with me. This is a legendary instrumentalist, vocalist, songwriter, producer, DJ, and true champion of the modern funk sound. This is somebody who has really had a big role in pushing funk forward in the modern era and making sure it gets the respect that it deserves. He's released a ton of incredible music. He's got records out on Stone's Throw. He's got records out on his own label, Glydezone. You may have heard his music in the soundtrack for the GTA video game series where it's featured prominently. He's collaborated with legends from Snoop Dogg to Steve Arrington. And just this past year, he released an incredible record with the rapper Jay Worthy. So I'm very blessed and honored to have this man in the studio with me. My friends, please welcome the great DāM-FunK.
Thank you very much. Much love, Mack.
Much love, man. What's happening?
You're the legend, man, so thanks a lot for having me.
Oh, thank you, bro. Well, it means a lot coming from you. I'm a huge fan of you. And,
thank you.
And love what you do, man. I'm happy to have you on here.
Appreciate being here.
Absolutely. So, like I said, man, I'm a fan of your music. I'm a fan of your sound. But for anybody who's watching this or listening to this who's maybe uninitiated with, the modern funk sound, how do you describe the unique type of music that you create?
Well, modern funk, Mack, is a style that I came up with after the early days of being on eBay when it was first created. A lot of the record sellers were calling modern soul certain songs that they were in records and 12 inches and albums that they were selling under the term modern soul. So a lot of us record diggers were like anything that had modern soul or boogie or that type of thing, we were like, kind of like getting that stuff. These are the early days of eBay when a lot of record sellers were on there. So I was like, in my Miracle Mile Olympic Boulevard studio, just kind of like, living studio, not a recording studio. I just had one room.
Okay.
And I was like, at midnight listening to Art Bell and then on the 6 a.m. listening to KJLH's Front Page and, just living in a one room studio of great family let me stay there, in the Miracle Mile area when I was just working day jobs.
Yeah.
And before I got into music professionally. And during that time, I was like, why don't I just call my music? Because every time I mentioned funk, Mack, it was like people would say James Brown or, or
Right.
equate it to that type of sound, which James Brown's a legend, rest in peace.
Yes.
But the type of funk that I was into was more like early 80s, late 70s,
Right.
whether it be Roger or Zapp or maybe be some UK boogie like Paradise or or those kind of groups, jazz funk on Elite Records, those kind of things. Freeze. It would be groups like Change and BB&Q Band. They were based out of Italy, the musicians, but they were hired singers from New York, like Luther and a lot of other people that would be contracted to do the vocals on those records. I was like, these records are really modern funk records and not modern soul. So I was like, the fact that I use a lot of drum machines and synthesizers, man, I said, I just feel that my music style is modern funk.
Yeah.
And around the 1999, maybe like around that 2000 Y2K era, I just started to call my music modern funk as to give the LA scene something else to kind of like see that was different. Because, Mac, when you would go to different clubs, a lot of the LA based clubs were anchored in mainly hip hop or dance hall or reggae, not really dance hall, but reggae, and they would throw in the occasional funk track that would make the crowd go crazy, but then they'll go back to like, different styles.
Right.
So I was like, it's time to let people know that you don't have to be, embarrassed about, funk or whatever. And then when I was mixing things like a DMX drum machine from Oberheim or a Linn drum or a rolling keyboard, to make this type of funk, like Mtume style funk.
Yes.
One song that would define modern funk is a song called Prime Time from Mtume. So that type of sound where it's more melodic, more smooth, and like you could ride to it. Not necessarily G-Funk, that came later.
Right.
But it came before. But later both, because the fact that G-Funk was in the early 90s, it was influenced by funk that they didn't know was modern funk, because modern funk was people like Loose Ends, Mtume, D-Train, and stuff of that nature. But James Brown and earlier artists of that nature were sampled for a lot of the fantastic hip hop that we were blessed with over the years.
Yes.
So when that era kind of like turned into something else, modern funk was something I embraced and coined, humbly speaking. And here we are with that sound. And I just wanted to give it wasn't a selfish coining, Mac.
Right.
It was more of a coining of that term so that other DJs and other record collectors on eBay and other just music enthusiasts in general can hear the Ballad of Dorothy Parker by Prince and realize that it's modern funk, even though it's technically Minneapolis funk. But there was other forms of funk and not just the James Brown chicken scratch guitar sound that a lot of people always affiliate with quote unquote funk.
Right.
So that's a long answer to your great question as far as like modern funk. I
love that.
Yeah, I just felt that was what I was about, and here we are.
I love it, bro. Well, it's dope, and it's needed, right? Funk is not just one thing, and so for you to identify, like, hey, this is a particular segment, this is a particular sound, that has its own identity, and we need a way to be able to talk about that in conversation and seek that out.
Thank you.
I think it's really important. And I was gonna say, one of the things I really admire and respect about you is your depth of knowledge.
Thank you.
Like, I mean, especially like if you're talking about modern funk, boogie, the sound like you described from the late 70s on into the early 80s, when you talk about it, like, you're not just talking about, the most famous artists, you're talking about obscure artists, you're talking about the session musicians, you're talking about engineers, producers, dates, regional sounds. You have such a very complete knowledge of the genre.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you, like, have you always been that type of person where you want to peel the layers back and deep dive on the liner notes? Has that always been kind of your steez when it comes to music?
Well, that has been my steez, Mac, and it was more natural. It wasn't planned. Like, for instance, I'll tell you a little bit of insight. Like, when I was younger as a kid, as I was referring to earlier off camera, I had this affliction for TV guides, and when I was growing up, in case the viewers out there don't remember the TV guides that used to come in the mail, and you could see like what was coming on Saturday mornings or Friday or whatever, Three's Company on Wednesdays, or Soul Train on Saturday mornings. You can have that TV guide was important in a lot of American households, and so I used to, like, for some reason, go to, even when we had a subscription, man.
Yeah.
I used to go to like this dairy market that, I don't know if you remember those dairy markets. They had like a circle. The guy turns the thing, and you can kind of get the food from there, or a snack, or you drive through, and the guy turns it around. So I used to like show up on my bike and like get the fall season TV guide.
Okay.
And this is in relation to your question. I've always been into detail, and for instance, when the fall schedule of the TV guide came out, I would be interested in to find out what new cartoons are going to be on Saturday mornings. And this is during the 70s and early 80s, and late 70s, early 80s, and I remember a situation where me and my friend Trayvon and Eric, we were playing football and stuff in the front yards of our street, and I was like, I used to literally call ABC, CBS, and NBC, and I had these designated people that every year they knew that this young black kid from Pasadena was going to be calling, like, "Hey, how you doing? So I was wondering, can I have the cartoon department, please?" And
that's crazy.
And then it was a lady, a very nice lady, each place. But I remember this specific lady in ABC. She still was there, and I was like, she would call me and say, "Hey, how you doing? My name is Damon. I'm here to just find out. I first asked for the cartoon department of ABC, so she answered. And I was like, "Can you tell me the latest lineup of what this cartoon is going to be on Saturday mornings from in Wisconsin?" So she was like, "Oh yeah, how you doing? Good to hear from you." And so she would like say, "Yeah, okay, so at 7:00 we have Scooby Doo still coming on with his new season, but we have a new this is like 82. We have a new introduction by Hanna-Barbera, and it's going to be Happy Days and Laverne and Shirley in cartoon format." And then so they would continue naming the cartoons, and the Heathcliff, and all this stuff from Ruby Spears, and Fang Face or whatever was going on. And I was like, "Okay, thanks a lot." And I would go after I hung up the phone while my friends are throwing football from different yards, because back then you can go in another person's front yard on a Saturday because those families were like sleep from their day jobs through the week.
Right.
So we just having fun in their front yards, throwing in my front yards, and I say, "Hey guys, okay, so the new lineup for Saturday morning is Scooby-Doo at 7 a.m. with his friends Dino Mutt and all those guys, and then Plastic Man, and those guys in the next hour. There's going to be Happy Days and Laverne and Shirley, a cartoon version." So I say all this because
they loved you, huh? You were the plug,
but someone
man.
probably thought I was a nerd too. But I mean, hey, we're all nerds at a certain point.
It's cool to be a nerd, man. That just means you're into something. You know what I'm saying? You got to be into something, man.
There you go.
Yeah.
So in reference to your question, it's like I was always that guy that was into getting the TV guides, looking at the year that the Good Times episode came on, and what season that was, or what's happening. Oh, this is the third season, so that brings me to the liner notes.
Yeah.
And when I started record digging at places like Pooh Bah's Records in Pasadena on Walnut and Green Street, I would just, after my dad introduced me to those type of record stores, not just the mainstream, like, the Warehouse or Licorice Pizza, which are fantastic record stores, but Pooh Bah's was the record store for us in Pasadena, California.
Yeah.
And they now have since moved to Colorado, near the Guitar Center. But the original Pooh Bah was there on Walnut, and I would go shopping, and a lot of this is what people don't know, man.
Yeah.
Like there was a there's still a radio station called K-Rock 106.7.
Yep.
They had DJs like Jed the Fish, Richard Blade, Dusty Rhodes, all those folks that were still on there. This was before corporate moved in, and kind of like different companies took over to program the airways. These DJs were able to play what they wanted to play.
Dope.
So they wanted to play Depeche Mode or The Cure, or they wanted to play a Rick James song. They could during that time around 80, 81. So what would happen is that those DJs, they would take their, or the record companies that work for Warner Brothers or different labels, MCA, or the staff there, they would have these promo records. They would take the promo records and go sell them at Poohbahs because they didn't have anything. The DJs didn't take them, the record pools didn't take them, so the records would end up at Poohbahs. So when you go to the promo section, then you can get the balance right from Depeche Mode on the white label radio version.
Yeah.
And I was getting all this stuff before it was a hit because they were turned in by record executives. This is the benefits of living in LA.
Yeah.
Burbank, these guys, or record workers or staff members or, the mailroom cats, they would turn in these records and get trade-in fees for them. So that's when I was able to take these records home with me when I was young and listen to those records from Soft Cell and all that kind of stuff. Because I was in the new wave and funk and not just funk.
Right.
And Mac, that's what I want to let you know.
Yeah.
I was the kind of cat that was into all styles of music. And so K-Rock and KLOS and KMET, I'm sure all the LA listeners will remember what I'm talking about. But K-Day, all those stations, KJLH, K-Ace, KGFJ, those are radio stations I would listen to. And when a song would come out, I would, buy those. They were only like $1.97 because they were promos.
Yeah.
So I would take those home and listen to them. Would open up my windows in my bedroom, and I'm the only child. So, I kind of furnished my room just like this beautiful set is right here.
Oh, thank you, man.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, I had like the...
We wanted you to feel at home. So,
the is tight. Flow state is tight. So, the point is that my room, back then, like 84, 85, us kids, we valued our bedroom. We wanted to style it in a certain way. The fold out sofa, the posters, and all that stuff. But I had these windows that open up that directly looked at the Rose Bowl and the hills that were right by the Rose Bowl. So when I would bring a record home, I would just put the record on, sit in my chair just like this, and just rock back and forth to the beat.
Yeah.
And that's how I grew up in my early teens and my later teens, and then I finally started making my own tracks, and we can hit that a little bit later. But that's kind of like what it was. I was always into, as you mentioned, discovering the liner notes, who produced things.
Yes.
I learned that, and that was when we had physical items to hold in our hand, and not only digital, which we love digital, but it's just that we were able to pull out the record sleeve and see, okay, the keyboard player. All right, yeah, cool.
That information was there for you.
There was.
And it was always right there for you. Like anytime you reach to put a record on, you're holding the book that has all that info. Now in the digital world, it's still maybe available, sometimes not, sometimes it is, but you have to seek it out. In a whole different way. So, no, I love that, man. And I love that, just the popping the windows open and putting a record on and vibing out. Do you remember the first musical instrument you actually laid hands on, or the first time you actually created music for yourself?
Yes. Yeah, my first musical instrument was drums. That's the drum kit that's my first instrument actually, Mac. And my dad, he was such a cool dad, and he's still alive, but he was such a good cat because he supported my musical endeavors. And if I was banging on, pots and pans or boxes or whatever. I never banged on pots and pans. We'll leave that alone. That's other people say that. But the boxes, I was banging on boxes.
Yeah, and, I'm a drummer too. I had.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so I had my dad also supported my music, which is so
great,
such a blessing, right?
There you go.
But yeah, we had these 5-gallon paint buckets. And one day my dad stretched some rubber over the top of it and tied it around.
Ooh.
And he had different levels of water in the different buckets. So they would create kind of different pitches. They were kind of like toms, tom-toms, that had these different pitches. So I totally relate to that, the makeshift drum kit, man. But you were on the boxes.
Yeah, great idea. What your dad came up with.
Yeah.
And that's what good dads are about. I'll tell you another story about when dads did some great things too, if we can. But before that, he bought a drum set from the church that was up the street. And so it was a Slingerland gold sparkle church drum set. And then so he just let me play, and then one of the first records that he showing you from earlier when I was talking about that he came from a different upbringing.
Yeah,
cool cat, still cool to this day. 78 years old, still cool. But
that's awesome.
He was into so much music. Like I said, he would have James Brown.
Yep.
He would have some rare earth. He'll have Iron Butterfly's In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida album. That was the first album that he put on. That song, which was like damn near 18 minutes, In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida by Iron Butterfly, I played that and I had to learn that drum solo.
Oh, wow.
In the middle, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So and being young, you know, you're not to the level yet, like maybe 6 or 7, you're not at a level where you're, you know, already starting to rebel from your parents. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, you know,
you
like,
embraced it.
Exactly. So I was like learning, and I played the whole track, and, you know, then he put some Graham Central Station on there, you know, and things like that. So that's the drums was my first instrument, and then I later moved on to keyboards.
Right. And with the keyboards, did you take lessons or anything like that, or were you just learning by ear?
I tried to take lessons one time. I think I took one lesson and I just didn't like it.
Yeah.
So I just learned on my own. So
wow.
and that's something later on in life that I used to always have like an insecurity about. But then when you realize that Prince and Barry White and, you know, Paul McCartney and these guys, you know, didn't know how to read music.
Right.
You realize, like, you know, oh, maybe that's not so bad. I mean, you can, you know, be beneficial to yourself and your repertoire to learn music and learn notes and learn all that stuff. But some people just have a different way of, you know, approaching music. And for me, I just, you know, I just didn't get into the lesson thing. I did play in a jazz band in high school.
Okay.
But I learned a little bit of like note structure as far as like saxophone and drums, but then I realized I really didn't need it just for what I need to do. Now, if you're doing Carnegie Hall,
right,
that's a different story.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, if you're playing film scores or something, right, you might
and
need
even
to
film
know.
scores now. You don't know. I mean, look at the cats. Like, you know, it's at this point. That was so interesting you mentioned that, because I was discouraged earlier on to, like, you know, you're not going to be able to do movie scores because you don't know how to read music. But now look at how cats are doing it now. You can do it just because of how your music sounds.
Yeah, the RZA did the Kill Bill soundtrack.
Thank you.
I'm pretty sure he wasn't writing out scores.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're absolutely right, man. And it's cool too, like, to know that all of that was learned by ear, because that's one of the things that really stands out to me sonically about your music is the rich chords and harmony that you include in your compositions.
Yeah, I try. You know, because it's in me. It's not like I'm trying to do it on purpose. It's in me. Like, when you have a repertoire like myself, or interest in music, such as like from the broadband of like a Prefab Sprout, which is one of my favorite groups in the UK,
right, on
down to I mean, Iron Maiden. I mean, it's like I'd have a certain period, man. Like, my aunt used to take me to Hollywood Boulevard, and I don't know how long have you been in LA?
I've been in LA only since 2008.
Okay, cool. So there's a little history I want to tell you.
Hit me, man. Yes,
okay,
I need this. I need this.
Oh, no problem. And your listeners. And I'm sure some of them know, but this is an interesting thing I want to share. It's like, during the 80s, there was like a big metal explosion in LA. I'm sure everybody knows that, MTV, hello.
Yeah.
But you know, Queensryche, you know, Armored Saint, you know, Iron Maiden, Ozzy, you know, and of course, you know, the big wigs, you know, Kiss, you know, all those kind of, you know, groups. I was into that. Saxon, you know, Venom, but that kind of scared me. So I was like, it's like, shit, like, Venom. Okay, let me get back into I see Kraftwerk over here, so let me go do that. So
that pushed you over towards the other genres.
Exactly. I saw Egyptian Lover. I said, okay, let me bring Prince. Okay, let me get. So there was a point where I was into metal so much, you know, like on Hollywood Boulevard, they used to have these spots. They had like these metal shops, and they had these big posters, and my aunt would take me sometimes when she lived on Fairfax, and because I would live in Pasadena, of course, but she lived in Fairfax, in that area, and we had such a great time, and that's why I always tell kids, and you know, I don't know if you remember these things, like your aunt or your uncle or whoever your family member is, if they ever like did one thing or two things for you, will remember that. Like, wow, they really like took me to Hollywood Boulevard and let me buy giant Kiss posters. You know, I would put them on my wall. And you know, and that's when I was starting to do the TV Guide Columbia House Records ordering. So I really started ordering like Destroyer from Kiss and Alive 2 from Kiss, and you know, those type of things. And so I was a metalhead guy. You know, I got into that type of music, and I appreciated it because the drumming was something I was into. Rush became one of my favorite groups, and the Hemisphere albums and Permanent Waves and Moving Pictures and Farewell to Kings, those albums were some of the influential albums that influenced me on playing drums because of Neil Peart.
Yeah.
So
shout out to Neil Peart with the
oh man, rest in peace.
man. We all wanted to have that drum kit at one point, like with 30 drums and 40 cymbals and like that definitely would not have fit in my basement, man, as a kid, but I wanted it still.
Oh man, it was an incredible time.
Yeah.
The album that they did with Subdivisions, all that stuff I was into. But after that, like I said, I started after the metal thing, you know, I was going to tell you that like that's what I was getting into with the posters, and my friends used to come by and like say, dude, you have all this stuff, man. You could have at least been into Depeche Mode. I'm like, dude, what are you talking about, man? You know, like,
wow.
Because you get hazed in the hood. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I had to survive, and the survival techniques was just doing my thing. And you know, like when the kids that walked around, they heard those drums playing on Saturday morning to, you know, rush, and you know, I would play the whole album. And my neighbor, his name was Dennis Johnson.
Yeah.
He was a great piano player, man. And this is a trip when I say this, because I'm sure you know this, Mac. In our neighborhoods and places we come from, there's so many talented musicians, man, but they just chose different routes. I mean, I always tell this to my wife, Teresa, it's like, there probably was another Prince. There probably was another James Brown. There probably was another Paul McCartney. You know what I'm saying?
You imagine, man?
David Bowie. But they just didn't get that shot, you know?
Yes.
So in my journey, man, in a weird way, I kind of always think about those guys, like the people who ended up doing, you know, being a school teacher, maybe being a bus driver, maybe, you know, at a factory making great benefits, which we don't get. No,
Yeah, exactly. You don't get that as a musician, man.
Right. So it all evens out. But you know.
No, but you're absolutely right, man. I think about that all the time too. Even, you know, MCs and freestylers and people with this amazing improvisational ability, you know, freestyling isn't something that traditionally was really valued by like the industry machine, you know?
You're a master at it.
And so, thank you, man. Thank you. But I'm also, you know, and I'm also standing on the shoulders of giants for sure.
Yes, of course.
Shout out to Super Nat and Juice and Idea and some of the cats that came before me and laid the groundwork for me to exist. But yeah, I have to imagine there's maybe hundreds of cats out there that are amazing improvisers that maybe the stars haven't aligned, or for one reason or another, they just haven't, you know, put themselves out there like that. And so I think it's important to remember that too, right? Because some of it is out of our control. You know, we there is some luck involved. And of course, we work very hard and we do everything we can to prepare and to show up our best and to push ourselves and to elevate, you know, our respective genres and art forms. But yeah, I do think there's some luck involved too, for me anyway.
Yes.
But
some people call it blessings.
Yeah.
You know, but luck and blessings are the same thing. And it's like all the way you think about it. It's like, you know, for me and you to be sitting here, man, and like, you know, just being able to, you know, work with Sam and Mikey.
Yeah.
Doing all these things with Flow State. It's like, you know, we are lucky. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
Because but I say this with all the musicians listening out there, you can do it too. And, you know, it just depends on like not giving up, you know, depending on what type of level you do, how much you put into it. Because it's not all luck. It's actually if you really believe in yourself and your craft. And people like Harry Mack, which I'm sure you all know, he's incredible. And he's been doing his thing in the way that, you know, he shows his enthusiasm and his truth in it. And that's what I like to try to show, not in a way that I'm trying to always, you know, beat my chest about it, but hopefully just through the music, if people are smart enough when they hear the chords and hear certain things I'm doing and review and see what types of situation I'm choosing business wise within this whole journey and, you know, traveling all over the world. I mean, Harry Mack, I've been like, man, I just got to tell you, man, I've been every place, man. I to be honest, I'm humbly speaking. A lot of cats, they haven't even been where I've been, but they're on the radio, but they're on, you know, different levels of things. But I've sat on like oceans by myself after a show when the sun was coming up and just looking like, what is a guy from Pasadena, California, from Hammond and Sunset doing, sitting on a rock on an island overseas, just like thinking like, wow, how did I get here?
Yeah.
And those are some of the things that I treasure most because thanks to cats like, you know, Leon Silvers III. That's one of my mentors
Right.
from Solar Records, and also Peanut Butter Wolf of Stone's Throw.
Yep.
He was a great ear for talent, and me and him bonded over the group Slave and Steve Arrington because we knew there was videotapes out there, and so after that, he heard some of my music, and that's the thing. I didn't force things on people. He had just said, "You got some stuff or something?" I don't remember clearly, but I was like, "Yeah, I got some stuff," and let him hear it, and he was interested, and then he said, "Yeah, we do this series called Rhythm Tracks on Stone's Throw," and so far it's James Pants. Much love to James Pants out there. He's still doing his thing, and Arabian Prince from the original NWA. A few other people did like a Rhythm Tracks because that was based on a series that was on Jive Records that had cats doing just beats.
Right.
Instrumental beats, and it was like volumes. So of course, Wolf, he's like sinister, for lack of better description, on getting into those deep genre type. Hidden, So
he's a liner notes guy.
There you go.
He can run with the best of them, man. He's a digger for sure.
Yes. So he was like, "Yeah, I'm going to do a Stone's Throw Rhythm Track series," and then so one time we were at the Do Over. Much love to Jamie Strong and Haycock and all those cats that run the Do Over. Do Over is a club in the Crane's Tavern.
Okay.
That and they're still doing their thing, but Do Over was a spot that. It was on a Sunday, and if you went out on Friday and Saturday night, you would go to the day party, kind of just, still listen to music, but maybe you might be on one.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So that was what the Do-Over was. It was even out before the movie was out. So
okay.
But the point is that when we would do those, one time he's like, "Yeah, man, you should do a rhythm track." So, being that hungry back in the day, Mac, I was like, "I'll just do it right now." So I went to my garage in Ladera Heights in Leimert Park, really Leimert Park first, and I recorded in one day my first EP on Stone's Throw called Rhythm Tracks.
Wow.
And
so that's before To Each His Own.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, dope.
Yeah,
okay.
My first single on Stone's Throw was called Burn Rubber, and it was a remix of Baron Zinn, a childhood friend of Stone's Throw's Peanut Butter Wolf in San Jose.
Gotcha.
And he had did a record, but I remixed his song called Burn Rubber because he kind of was like doing some kind of fumbling and trolling, if you will, but on the track Burn Rubber from the Gap Band. So Mad Lib and all the other cats, they had already took tracks they were going to remix on this Baron Zinn remix album.
Yeah.
So I did the Burn Rubber 12-inch, and one of the first DJs to play it, much love to one of the best DJs on the planet, J-Rock.
Yeah.
Oh, man,
shout out
he's
to J-Rock.
incredible. The Mighty Beat Junkies. And he played their Do-Over, and I was like in the crowd, and the crowd just responded in such a manner. It was like, whoa, this is crazy. So, from there, I did a 12-inch called Burgundy City, backed with Galactic Fun, because I have a thing about space, and we don't even want to talk about the drones and stuff right now, but we'll say
maybe
another
we do,
conversation.
Man. That'll part two, maybe. We'll see. We'll see.
So I'm a devout Art Bell listener from back in the day, so I have a lot to expound on that, but we'll stick to music right now. How you doing, guys? We're not gonna do, but
hey, man, the flow goes where it goes. It's like, hey,
okay. But to end that long spouting of an answer to your question, it's
I love it.
I was just, always into different styles, and those guys, Leon, Peanut Butter Wolf, and Junie Morrison are very instrumental to helping me get to where I am now, and influencing me on how to do things.
That's dope. I love it, man. Yeah, and speaking of, Peanut Butter Wolf and Stone's Throw and your, affiliation with them and working with them, To Each His Own, was that the first full length that you did as a solo artist?
Yes.
And so that was like a 5-disc box set, right?
Mm-hmm.
Man, so that's crazy to me. Like to come out the gate like that is so dope and not that common. I wanted to just ask you, like, what was the decision process to decide, like, we're going to drop a 5-disc box set on them out of the gate?
Well, first of all, I was very, very appreciative that the label even considered doing something like that. And it was Jamie Strong, who I mentioned earlier. He was with Stone's Throw at that time. Jeff Jank and Stone's Throw's Peanut Butter Wolf head, of course. And I think that I just hit an interesting period of creativity at that label, and they were doing so many interesting things, very innovative things, and and it was post, what was going on with Jay Dilla and Madlib. So, it was like kind of like a free zone to do something unique and different. And and I had so many songs that at this point, after the rhythm track situation, Wolf was really into my music, listening to some of my old tracks that I recorded like in my home studio in Pasadena in 1992.
Wow.
That's what ended up being Adolescent Funk. Before we go there, Toeachizown was recorded in Lemert Park. That's where I was living there at that time. And I just let him hear a bunch of tracks, and he was like, yo, man, I can't even choose what I want to do. Why don't we just do a 5-record box set? And I think that was Jamie and Peanut Butter Wolf's decision on that. And I was flabbergasted as far as like being very thankful and appreciative of that, because that's right up my alley. Working at record stores before, this, seeing things like that are very, was always like very cool to see a artist or a group or a band do something like that.
Yes.
So that is something that had extra tracks more than the CD.
Yeah.
So some things out there, ladies and gentlemen, if you ever get the 5-box set, it has tracks that still aren't even streaming right now. So
oh wow, yeah, it's got stuff you can't hear it on Spotify
exactly,
even, right? Like it's like you have to have the box set.
Yes.
That's dope.
Thank you for acknowledging the box set. I think it was a fun situation. And then right after that, as we were doing the box set and starting the tour with rest in peace J1 and Computer J, who's a great keyboardist. J1 was the drummer. We went out and supported that project called Toeachizown. And but then after that, this talented cat named Mare Hawthorne came along and dropped a heart-shaped record, and then it was called it ain't gonna work out or something to that effect.
Yeah.
And after that just took over everything, and Toeachizown was bye-bye. No, just kidding.
Oh. No, I'm still bumping it though. I'm still bumping it though, man.
Much love to Stone Stone. Much love to Mare Hawthorne. But yeah, they move on to different projects quick, and but I appreciate the support that they gave to Toeachizown, and but it was still bubbling. It reminds me of the situation where Dog Pound had the Dog Food album,
right?
And then right after Dog Pound's Dog Food album was popping, all of a sudden Tupac gets out, and all of a sudden All Eyes on Me takes over.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
The timing of those things, sometimes you don't know what's right around the corner, and some things just create a movement of their own, right? And pull a lot of the attention over. But
there you go.
But I think it's so dope, man, that you a lot of times, like as artists, like the things that people are wary about record labels for, it's like, oh, they're gonna try to squeeze me into a box, they're gonna try to say I have to get it down to 40-minute runtime, or I have to do this, I have to do that. And so I think it's dope that you were able to do something as unorthodox. It's just like, hey, let's put all this out, let's put all this music out. Like, we don't have to put it in a box.
It was very appreciative. And then also, I never forget, I got a call. We were in New York. I was riding with my dude Peter Agostin. He's a good guy. He used to he's known as Culturama.
Okay.
He knows about you. He loves your stuff. But
oh, dope.
But yeah, he's starting to book my shows, and I'm all the way in New York. And I remember Jeff Jank hit me on the cell phones, the early cell phones that time. I think it was the Android, and he was like, "Yo, man, you recouped. To each his own recouped." So it was a good feeling. Yeah, like I'm in the black. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it went well, even though the Mare Hawthorne thing, at least it's still it made sense to, because we already recouped, so therefore move on to other projects. So it all worked out. And me and Mare and James Pans went on tour together with Wolf, and we all had a good time. And so I would consider that portion like the next wave after the Madlib, Dilla, Dudley, and Georgia Ann, and different cats that were on Stone's Throw. It was like a next wave.
100%.
So that was what was going on. I was a part of that wave.
Yeah. Super dope. I love that. I wanted to ask you a little bit about your thoughts on like creative limitations. Like, because I heard that some of your early records, you created them on cassette, and I heard that you would bounce back and forth between a couple different tape machines so that you could kind of stack tracks and multi-track your songs that way. And I imagine your setup has evolved somewhat since that time, but what are your thoughts on creative or technical limitations like that, and how they impact your creativity? Do they help in the creative process, in your opinion?
Man, that's such a fantastic question. Mac, let me tell you, the cassette to cassette format of the way I was recording back in 87 and 88, and still in high school, like 10th or 11th grade, my dad told me about that. He said, man, you could take 2 cassette tape players and, put the cassette in one side, then record those tracks, and then go to the other one, and then, take that tape out, record that one, and then keep going back and forth. The only thing you're going to lose generations of sound, and the pitch might change.
Right.
So,
and the quality maybe gets a little more hiss each time you do it, right?
Yep. So, interesting thing, like those 4 tracks were available, like the Porter sound from Yamaha and things like that. I got one, but I was just so frustrated. I didn't know how to use it. I didn't get the concept of like bouncing. I didn't know what that meant. So when people come up with these terms, man, F that, man. I'm doing a 2 cassette tape things. It could have sounded better with using the 4 track. I wish I would have.
Sure.
And that's the way the Ariel Pink and cats like that record, as far as like the actual Porter sound Yamaha thing.
Yeah.
So I wish I would have had it, because I could have, took the volume down on certain things. So big ups to everybody who actually used those 4 tracks. But I just kind of like limited myself. But then the limitations, Mac, it actually gets your elbow grease better, because I had to record a certain way to, record the whole thing and, like just kind of like make sure that I was mixing on the first take.
Right.
So I couldn't mix later, have the luxury of, let me turn that bass up. So I had to have the bass fat and the keyboards. So to answer the question, the limitations, I think, helped me to be able to learn how to record live all the way through. And then also one thing, I got an Akai sampler, and around that time it was the
rack mount.
There you go.
Yeah.
The rack mount, and the rack mount, I got frustrated with it again. I didn't know how to use it. So God bless Pete Rock and all these guys that know how to use that stuff, and Alchemist and all these guys. It's like, I just kind of put that aside. I went back to the cassette thing. It was just easier to me. And so I could have been a sample guy and a sample cat and learned how to do a lot of that, but I just kind of like learned how to play things on my own with the Casio keyboard, the Moog Source, and the Lindrum, and the Oberheim DX, and these things. And I was just, kind of learn how to do music. So the cats that made me feel comfortable in the fact that they were doing things like that and not strictly sampling and actually playing were people like DJ Quick. And before him, Prince. That's my main influence. So I wish that if I look back in hindsight, like that, maybe I could have done like more like the sampling based production, because I respected and loved hip hop, even though I grew up on like the Fat Boys and like, Run DMC and that era, Big Daddy Kane, Rakim, that 86 thing, Curtis Blow, Basketball, those albums we were actually buying in Los Angeles, because K-Day had became a 24-hour radio station.
Right.
And the parties that were going on, like Uncle Jam's Army's parties around town with like, Egyptian Lover, Clayton. Teresa, what's Clayton's first name? Roger Clayton. And rest in peace to him. Uncle Jam's Army and those cats, we went to these parties. Like they would come to Pasadena and, do something at the Civic Center. They would mainly do stuff at the sports arena in Los Angeles, and it would be like packed. Just a DJ crew, but the whole place looked like a concert. And you remember the dance called, I don't know, well, it's this dance called The Freak.
Okay,
People used to freak. And the whole place would have everybody, it would be a freak line. So it would be boy, girl, boy, girl, boy, girl, boy, girl, boy, girl, freaking on this, at that concert, with
That's
all those
crazy.
fast up-tempo. Because LA was one of the places that still had up-tempo music, like the Kraftwerk stuff. Egyptian Lover, all that stuff. A lot of people in the United States don't understand that LA had like a up-tempo techno thing going on.
Okay.
Kind of like Detroit a little bit.
Right.
And like when you talk to cats like Moody, man, he actually has family and base in LA, but he later went to Detroit, and that's his main home. But there was a connection always between the Midwest and LA. So when you have groups like Zapp and Roger and P-Funk and all those cats that resonated on LA and LA radio, it was just a Midwest West Coast connection.
Yeah.
And
that's dope.
That was just what's going on. But yeah, as far as that, I just sharing some of that influence, some of the things that are going on. So please refresh me on where.
Oh, no, I love that. I love that. I mean, yeah, and yeah.
I like to share with you folks.
Hey, this is what we're here for, man.
State. We flowing.
We're in flow state right now, man. No, I love it. And, you talk about, it's like, yeah, you wish you would have learned how to do the 4-track. Maybe that would have helped with some things.
With sampling.
Yeah, with sampling,
yes,
exactly.
But I didn't go into sample-based music, but I respect all the pioneers in sample-based music, like Pete Rock, like Large Professor.
Come on, man.
Like all those cats, you know what
Primo,
I'm saying?
man.
Primo, man. That dude is incredible,
Come on, man.
When it comes to hip-hop, his sound is so, you could just feel it in your...
Oh, it's visceral. It's visceral, man. Yeah. Shout out to all those cats, man. But one thing I really dig about your production style too, and you talk about having to play things in real time. One of the things that really struck me is like I'm hearing some of these classic drum machine sounds in your beats, right? That are similar to or harken back to that 80s era Prince records and records from other artists like that who were maybe using some of the same tools that you're using. But then there's this certain feel that you're pulling out of the machines that to me is very human.
Thank you.
And a little different, like from what I am used to hearing on some of those older records, where it seemed like back in the day it was often very quantized and everything was on a certain grid. And sometimes you have that tight rhythmic feel on your drum parts, but a lot of times it's almost like this off the grid kind of feel. So to me, it's so dope because it's like we have these classic drum machine sounds, but with a more modern way of playing them.
Thank you.
Is that, and that's just my take on it. Is that accurate or does that resonate at all? And if so, where does that come from for you?
It resonates because I'll tell you, one of my influences on that was a young cat that was a younger brother of my friend G Shaft. G Shaft is a mysterious musician and cat that was on my first album on a song called One Less Day.
Oh yeah, I love that joint. Yeah. He's the guy. He's the MC on there rapping. Or?
Yeah, he's towards the end, but he's still around doing his thing. But he remains a mystery. But but his younger brother, his name was Cleefus, aka Finesse. And I remember one time, I kind of took him under my wing, and we went to go see. I took him to a concert in L.A. At I think it might have been Billboard Live or something. We saw Dwele.
Okay.
Dwele is a cool instrumentalist and vocalist from Detroit.
Yeah.
And affiliated with Slum Village and Dilla and all those cats.
Yep.
And so when I would take him to these places, and I would listen to his production, I was like, these young cats, they're trip, they off beat.
Yeah.
And I was like, hold on, they got something. They're off beat. We're used to doing quantized. Let me just open up my ears and see what he's talking about. And he was kind of like, that offbeat thing was going to say, okay, all right, it ain't necessarily wrong.
Yeah,
it's just another approach. But see, he was listening to Battle Cat, so Battle Cat, I think, had some of the kind of like the offbeat type, off grid type stuff too.
Yeah. And
I was more locked into the Prince style of like, quantized. This shit had to be in the pocket, in the pocket and on the one.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Which is, you got two sides.
It's hard to argue with that, right?
Right.
It always feels good if it's in the pocket.
Exactly.
So.
But that Dilla sound, you know what I'm saying? Rest in peace, that legend.
Yes.
It's like it influenced a lot of people.
Yeah.
But it was actually my off-kilter type live vibe and unquantized vibe came from local cats who are around me.
Yeah.
That was like Finesse or rest in peace to him. And cats like, Battle Cat, and those kind of cats. So I realized, it's okay to like, you don't have to be straight up beat because those drum machines came like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It didn't have the quantized, unless you had to kind of like put it on, offbeat type stuff. But the unquantized thing, came from, just being more about what the times were. I wasn't going to just like pulverize people with, you have to listen to the straightness of of Rick James's Money Talks song. You know what I'm saying? Which is an incredible track.
Yeah.
Money Talks, and Rick James, check it out.
Yeah, you do have to listen to it actually. Yeah, you do.
But those straight beats are dope. But
Yeah.
The off vibe where you're a little bit behind comes in the jazz vibe, which is the American, anchor in music, and it helped a lot of people be able to be on their own. So with your question, and to answer that, I love doing funk when it has like a off kilter, off grid beat. So I never quantize my beats.
Yeah. Woo! Man, it sounds so good. Like the clap sound too, like with the way that the clap sits in the pocket. What to you like is the most essential sonic element of like a modern funk track? Like, is there something in your mind where it stands out as like that's the signature?
Fantastic question. I love the fact that you ask questions that actually matter.
Oh, thank you, man.
You know, what kind of snacks I eat.
But also, what's your favorite cereal? I like Frosted Flakes,
I like the new Miniature Tricks.
Oh, yeah?
Cereal. Try those.
Oh, okay. I'll get him. All right. Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, so back to, I just do things the way tell me one more time what that question
Well,
was.
I was wondering, like, what if you thought there was one like sonic element that stood out the most, whether it's like the clap sound or like the fat synth bass.
Yes,
These are the things that stand out to me when I listen to your stuff, where I'm like, oh wow, this is amazing sonically.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for your patience, and thank you for your patience.
Yeah.
Claps.
Woo.
And the crash cymbal on the ones. Now, this is something that Bootsy and a lot of people, even Patrick Adams from disco and boogie sounds, can tell you. For me, it's the one and getting that crash in there. If you listen to Knee Deep by Funkadelic, who a lot of people don't realize Bootsy is playing drums on that. Knee Deep.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's sick.
Yep.
There you go.
Knee Deep. Much respect to Bootsy Collins.
Yes, sir.
Dennis Chambers is playing all over that album as well. But but the point is that the crash on the ones is so important, and that's one of the hallmarks of funk, even in modern funk. But modern funk, to me, now when it comes to my modern funk, I just put it like that, because I don't want to pigeonhole any other modern funk artists that I've tried to open up the doors for by even coining the term, humbly speaking, but so they could do what they want. But for me, modern funk, the signature of it, for me, I just got to be honest, is beautiful chords on top of street music beats.
Yes.
So I like to combine the street experience of life, but also the beautiful side of life, because my upbringing was watching my dad with a briefcase and a suit that was picked up at the cleaners, walking every day to his car with my mom waving by for him to go to his job. And I didn't come up in a crazy household, you know what I'm saying? And I think that sometimes when you look at the Black experience and what the media portrays on us all the time, it's like, it's always like from some kind of like negative, dark situation. We all didn't have negative, dark situations. Even though I grew up in the hood on a corner house, my house and my dad was the dad who came out and built a go-kart for all the kids to roll down the hill on.
Wow.
And we all started off, making these raggedy go-karts. And my dad saw that one weekend after a long week of work. They didn't have the internet then. Right. So what are you going to do on the weekends? You're not going to stare at your phone. So you're going to, watch some football or watch some boxing or go outside, participate. And one time my dad said, I just see you guys doing these go-karts out here. Let me see if I can, make one. And he went to Ole's. It was an old Home Depot at that time. Yep. And he got some wood and made the steering wheel, and we all took turns. And I remember those kind of things because those are important things that aren't told about the Black experience, quote unquote, and and it's probably not told in a lot of other cultures' experiences. You know what I'm saying? And it's like the fact that there was a dad around or a man around to help the neighborhood and and set up things like that and enjoy these things that weren't captured on Instagram or photoed.
Yes,
those all live in a lot of my friends and people who saw that in our heads. And that's what's in my music. Beautiful chords, those experiences. My dad taking me to Burbank and flying on airplanes for fun. Like there was these little like charter like small airplanes that you could just go and
Wow.
you know, just things like that. You know, my mom, you know, I'm an only child, so you know, I was able to, you know, have a dog and a cat. You know, we later when dogs got too aggressive, German shepherds are very watch them.
Okay.
But
Public service
so we
announcement.
went. Yeah, there you go. Much love to Germans and shepherds though. But we went to cats and you know, just growing up in a great neighborhood. But it was across the street from the projects.
Yeah.
And we had a neighborhood park up the street, and you know, it's the type of park that had like skating on Sundays, but on Sundays they would like, you know, have like shootouts. You know what
Wow.
I'm saying? So, you know, you find yourself running home.
Damn.
You know, but then my street, when I got home, my street was Sunset, and all those people on this street had, you know, solid jobs, working for the city, working for different places. Then across the street was the projects.
Yeah.
And you know, so I grew up in that kind of era, and when the dope got flooded into our neighborhoods, as a lot of neighborhoods did, you know, back then, you know, of course our neighborhood got hit too. So the supplies went to like, you know, certain cats, and you know, they came to drug kingpins and stuff like that. I just didn't choose that. I just didn't, my music, and that, I give that to my dad and my mom for buying those drums back and learning Iron Butterflies, In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida.
Yeah.
And I, you know, and I give the music and instruments the thing that saved me, because a lot of the kids around the neighborhood, you know, I'm sure they heard those drums playing. You know what I'm saying? And they just knew, kind of like, let him just do his thing. You know what I'm saying?
Man.
And that's the kind of environment I come from. So that's what modern funk is. I grew up in the hard funk groups like Slave, One Way, you know, Ohio Players, Cameo, Change, BB&Q Band, Loose Ends, even those type of groups. Like Loose Ends, for example, is a perfect example for a modern funk sound, because they had that 808 and electronics, and even Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis after he left the time. It's like, you know, they had these beautiful chords, Cheryl Lynn's Encore, you know, early climax stuff, you know, that kind of stuff is what I would consider modern funk, because and even Luther, you know, Luther had great stuff, you know, the early stuff. You know, and those kind of things were, you know, influential in what modern funk is. So I would just consider modern funk with that question that you're asking, as far as the signature sound, beautiful chords, a different experience, not always talking about the streets, you know, and keeping things, you know, like if you listen to a song called Paradise from Change, ladies and gentlemen, just listen to those lyrics, and that's what I'm trying to get to, because I have done, you know, songs like How You Gonna Fuck Around and Choose a Buster, or, you know, or Hood Pass and Tag. But, you know, I'm progressing now, and I hope that, just like you, Harry Mack, I'm sure with your audience, you hope that your audience embraces your progressions.
Yes.
Because you learn as you grow older.
Absolutely.
And timelessly older.
That's
you
right.
know, to you know, embrace and check out what you've been through, and then make your creativity based on that, not just always making stuff that was the hit back in the day.
Yes.
So I'm still progressing, whether it be an instrumental project or whether it be a vocal project. That's where I'm at right now. And I just thank everybody who's taking part in seeing some of the live shows around the world, and even came to a show that me and Harry Mack did together, which I thank him and Mike and hooking up, and it was a very fantastic time.
Oh, it was great, man.
And you know, just being able to do music, you know, I never signed to a major label, but you know, I'm comfortable, you know, and I know that there's people out there that appreciate what I do, and I just thank people like Mac and his crew at Flow State just having me and just expressing the kind of things that musicians like myself go through, and the way we grew up and the way we approach music, and like I said, just representing the funk.
Let's go, man. Let's go, man. It's beautiful, bro. It's beautiful, man. Much love. Oh, man, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for coming on here and
Thank you, Harry Mack.
sharing some of your story. And I just think it's so dope to hear you talk about the modern funk sound being really like it's like a a way of telling your story.
Yeah.
But through audio, you know, with the hard drums, that's an element of what you experience. But with these beautiful chords, which
always
is another,
got to keep it slapping.
side.
Yeah, we got to keep that clapping and keep it slapping, but we got to keep it beautiful as well, because everything that I experienced growing up wasn't the CNN of the streets, quote unquote.
Yeah.
It was beautiful times. We hiked at Eaton Canyon. We played. My parents played tennis. Teresa's parents played tennis. You know, these parks were in our neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? It was so many great things that happened. Barbecues, 4th of July. You know, watching the 4th of July fireworks at the Rose Bowl from our backyard. These are experiences a lot of people don't know about. It wasn't always hood life and trifling and ghetto, quote unquote. You know what I'm saying? It's like everybody didn't grow up like that, and it's unfortunate that, you know, sometimes, Mac, we roll into this thing where everybody that kind of looks like me has to tell a story about the hood and the ghetto. And I just refuse to. I experienced more. I experienced collecting records. I experienced riding my moped to get the Prince album on Tuesdays when it came out. And a great crew of people and friends that I grew up with. You know, none of them were in a gang.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And we were all just cool.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We were in school just having fun, and we had youth centers that we went to. We had my dad coached a basketball team at the Salvation Army for cats, and you know, but I did see some stuff. You know, I saw somebody get killed in front of my house. You know, stuff like that. You know, all kinds of things. You know, we knew homies that, you know, that didn't make it, but I just thank God that I'm still here, and thank the universe, or whatever you believe in. You know, that I'm still here. And now I'm just looking forward to the next situation where we get full disclosure of UFOs and aliens. So,
Yes. Oh, wait,
we are here to see it. Yeah, so.
That's the perfect segue for part 2. So stay tuned. Next time it's only aliens and UFOs.
There you go.
No, I'm just playing. No, Dave, thank you so much, man. Seriously,
No problem.
such a joy to hear from you, man. Such an honor.
Thank you for having me, man.
I appreciate you for telling your authentic story, man, because I can tell you it's inspiring me. I think it's inspiring a lot of people out there, man.
Thank you.
So,
You're so talented, man. So keep up the great work.
we
love you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Well, look, I always close this show out with a freestyle.
Yeah, cool.
But I would love to, you know, get you involved if you would be down to like throw me some words while I'm doing a freestyle or something like that, and I'll incorporate your words into the rhyme.
Oh, okay, cool.
Does that work?
No problem. Let's shoot.
All right, and also I got a special track that I'm gonna be rhyming over here too as well. You'll definitely recognize it, but for the people out there watching, man, this is from a really dope project. Steve Arrington, DāM-FunK.
Much love to Steve Arrington, the Slave.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I got this track here. Do you want to put the headphones on just so you can hear what I'm doing?
Yeah, let's go.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, love it.
All right, Flow State, DāM-FunK, Harry Mack. We're gonna improvise a little bit. So yeah, I'll just hit the beat, throw a word my way, and I'll just reach back for words every once in a while. You can throw out whatever you think of.
Okay,
man.
so you're gonna start off, or you want me to throw a word first?
I guess hit me with the first word.
Okay, shoes.
Shoes. Let's go. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Come on. Listen. Flow State. Yeah. DāM-FunK. Come on. Yeah. Harry Mack. Listen. Come on. Yeah. Yo, check me out now. Yeah. We keep winning. Y'all know that we don't ever lose. H-Mack, elevating all rap crews. This music is in my blood, through my veins it's gon' ooze. I be kicking styles like I'm wearing steel toe shoes. Mack getting busy in this game I'm chosen. Yo, dang, those some fly kicks look like they woven.
Valentino.
I'ma break it down for y'all when I spit the clean flow. Shouts out to DāM-FunK, reppin' Valentino. Yeah, y'all know I'm no punk. Word to George Clinton, yo, we bringin' the funk. H-Mack getting busy with them true fresh flows. I'm in the mothership, I'm leaving in the UFO. Yeah, H-Mack never half-assing cause I'm truly all in. Yeah, I'ma drop it low like Bootsy Collins. I'ma leave you with them stars in your eyes. Dame representing the funk, the hardest of guys. We be smacking with the beats, repping all day. See me with the windows down, driving through LA. Yeah, and y'all know I'm bumping that to each his own. That's what's helping me to reach my zone. Yeah, Mack getting busy, I'm dropping all them anthems. I'm about to bring more understanding. Yo, Dame is a musical lord. The drums they smack, but we got them beautiful chords. It's both sides of the story. Shouts out to your pops, building go-karts for the kids in the neighborhood non-stop. Yeah, every time I rhyme, I get inventive. A lyrical menace, so your parents was playing tennis. Best believe I'm elevated like Eaton Canyon. When I'm rhyming off the top, y'all know I'm slamming. I'm taking them there, and I got my own flow. Yeah, the distance between us is just a stone's throw.
Ladies.
I'ma drive the people crazy. I be fancy like I'm driving a Mercedes. Killing the game, no ifs, ands, or maybes. Do it for the gentlemen, we do it for the ladies. All people combine, I kill the track when I spit, y'all I'm lethal with mine. Check out the weight on my back that I'm carrying. Hey yo, dope beats made for
Sam
Steve
and Mike.
Arrington. Yeah, say it one more time.
Sam and Mike.
Every time I spit, y'all know I'm getting hype. Yeah, hey yo, the football is what I spike. Shouts out to my squad, that's Sam and Mike. Y'all better know I be coming with the rhymes that's clean, but those the guys that's behind the scenes. And everybody watching right now better know, without Sam and Mikey, there isn't no show. Yeah, that's facts. Shouts out to my team. H-Mack coming through with the heat and the steam. And y'all know I'm about to ride, cause I'm prone to deliver fly poems from here to Glydezone. Wherever we at, we be dropping something fatal, more than stable. Shouts to Dame with his own label. Yeah, taking the music into his own hands. That's entrepreneurship, please
Harry
understand. Harry Mack, I'm repping for my name. Yeah, I'm trying to be the illest in the game. But honestly, when I'm on this mission, there is no illest, cause it's not a competition. There's room for all, so let's all get down. All I wanna do is try to contribute my own sound. All I wanna do is try to inspire someone, just to get it done, just to get the system jumping. Yeah, we gon' drop it all up on ya. Hey yo, DāM-FunK, for real, it's an honor. Thanks so much for coming through and blessing the show. H-Mack, go off top with the flow.
H-Mack is here in the game, y'all. Doing it with no shame, y'all. H-Mack, you know we gon' keep it all true. Just for you.
Ooh, y'all know what it is, man. Flow State official. DāM-FunK, Harry Mack. That's how we do this thing, baby. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch y'all next time. Aliens and UFOs only.
Next one.
Area 51, unlocked.
Harry Mack. Oh.